Metaphor is a critical component of your toolkit. By comparing two things that are different, which have similarities, you're helping your audience understand abstract concepts. Metaphor and analogy, very close cousins, right? So metaphor is when you're actually assigning a different value to something that is abstract and you're making it concrete. So when Shakespeare wrote, Juliet is the sun, that's a metaphor. If he had written, Juliet is like the sun, she's very radiant, she's the center of my universe. It wouldn't sound as poetic, but that's more of an analogy. So for our purposes, it's just when you're making a comparison between two things, trying to make the abstract concrete. The reason why it's important is because we actually think in metaphor. It's how we process our world. So you should be using it in your presentation. A financial genius who seems to be doing a lot of it is Warren Buffett. He always uses metaphors. A Financial Times report on Warren Buffett said he can hardly get through a presentation or a conversation without using a metaphor. And it's true. Here's one of his more famous ones. In business, I look for economic castles protected by unbreachable moats. How many of you have heard that? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard him say that. He says it quite often. In fact, he takes the metaphor one step further, and he said, I'm always looking for a strong leader, a knight who is really good at warding off marauders. He even uses those ancient words. He has another metaphor that I heard last year. He said he was reading a book by Ted Williams, the left fielder for the Boston Red Sox. And Williams talked about dividing the strike zone into these squares, these circles. He said when a pitch was in his strike zone, in his sweet spot, he could bat 400. When he had to hit something on the lower corners, he would bat 200 or 235. So Warren Buffett used it as an analogy for his own investing principles. And he said, when you're investing, the trick is to watch pitch after pitch go by and swing at the ones in your sweet spot. So again, he's constantly trying to make the abstract concrete. There's a reason for this. John Pollock is a speechwriter, but he's also studied the science of analogy. Whoever has the best analogy wins. People who tend to overlook or underestimate analogy's influence often find themselves struggling to make their arguments. How does this apply to the business sales solution?